We've all heard the saying, the days are long, but the years are short. And we all know that that's true when we are in the thick of it with babies and toddlers and little ones. But let me tell you, it really starts to hit different when you have teenagers. You start to really realize just how short the years are and just how short the time is, before they will be adults and will be on their own. My oldest is almost 14, and I don't think that there's some magic maturity thing that happens at midnight when a person goes from 17 to 18 that makes them an adult. That's kind of a legal construct that we have here in the United States, is that 18 means adulthood. But what I'm realizing, especially for kids, which is not just my kids, this is kind of how everyone raises their kids where we live. Kids who are raised in the country, they're maybe raised on a farm, have a lot of responsibilities. Adulthood actually comes even sooner than that. Because adulthood really, I mean, I guess people might define it differently. Of course, there's the physical development aspect. But to me, it's being physically developed. So you've gone through puberty, but then able to provide for yourself and a family. And a lot of kids who grow up in rural communities hit that, meet those milestones before they turn 18. So it's kind of sad thinking that I might be there pretty soon with my older kids. So as we talk, I'm making my morning coffee, and I like to mix it up. On this particular morning, kept it simple, just some butter and collagen, but I do really, really like a yolky latte. The egg yolk and cream, collagen, a little salt, maybe a little vanilla. You can really jazz it up any way you like, especially this time of year. It's fun to add some pumpkin spice or even a little pumpkin puree. But on this morning, I was just keeping it simple, and like most mornings, I had one of my small assistants up bright and early with me. So I always try to find a little something for them to do so that I can do some grading and different things. Being healthy in 2025 is not easy because it seems like toxins are everywhere in our food, in the products we use, and in the environment all around us. But stress is also toxic. So I just try not to worry about the things that I can't control and focus on what I can control. And the main thing there is just what I bring into my home. And when it comes to cleaning products, Branch Basics makes it very easy to keep your home smelling and looking fresh without harsh chemicals. With Branch Basics, you can cover all of your cleaning basics, from laundry to dishwasher tabs to hand soaps to an all-purpose concentrate that can be diluted at different ratios and used on any surface, from counters to bathrooms, grout, toilet, tubs, ovens, stovetops to windows and upholstery. And since it truly is gentle and human safe, you can even use it to wash produce. All of Branch Basics products are plant and mineral based and fragrance free, so they are safe for the most sensitive skin. I actually use the concentrate to fill up all of my cleaning devices. So I have a steam mop, I have an upholstery cleaner, I have a robot vacuum, and all of those things have places where you need to add a solution. And the solutions they come with are just not things that I'm comfortable using in my home. So I just use my Branch Basics concentrate, and then I can rest easy knowing that my kids, my babies, aren't crawling around on a floor, and they're not sitting on furniture that has been cleaned with toxic substances. If you're ready to get started with Branch Basics, a starter kit is definitely the best bang for your buck. Plus, it just makes it quick and easy to rid your home of toxic cleaning products. And when you use my code HopewellHeights, you will get 15% off a starter kit. I'll put my code, my link, and all the details in the description below the video. Mornings are very productive here. This was maybe, 7 a.m. So as I had gotten a head start on my tasks for the kids' schoolwork for the day, the boys went outside and they were helping John's dad unload firewood that they had cut. And they're dropping it down into his basement. That's what you see here. And even the little guys like to have jobs. They like to be put to work. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video, is making the most of these years, the most of this time, and a lot of that, the time that we have our children under our roof, that is. And a lot of that, I'm learning, has to do with work, because that's really where we find meaning as people and as families. It's in the work we do. And if you think about that, it's pretty obvious, because a lot of us, maybe that is signified in our last name. Last names like Baker or Taylor. You can think of all sorts of the last name Smith. All of these last names indicate that somewhere along the line in your lineage, someone did that trade. That's what they did for work. And not just that person, that's what that entire family did for work. So even think of the last name Farmer or Miller. The list could go on and on and on. But it's something that I think really gets lost on us these days, because work is something that has been separated from the identity of the family. And it's become this individualistic thing, to where maybe dad goes off to work at a place that is totally separate from the family in the home. It really doesn't affect the family in the home. It's like, yeah, I know my dad or mom does XYZ, but that has nothing to do with who we are as a family. And I think that's a really unhealthy place to be. We kind of talked in last week's video about identity, giving our children a strong sense of their identity, who they are. And we can do a lot of that as mothers, no matter what situation we're in, just by making a peaceful, comfortable home with good meals and just a nice place to be and a good place to come back to. That helps with children's sense of identity. But a lot of it, I think as well, is for the children to be included in the family's work, and for the work of the family to include everyone. And when that is the situation for the family, that the work really is the identity of the family, the children are pulled in really regularly, then it's just very organic, very natural to teach them skills that they're going to need throughout their life. It doesn't feel like some big checklist, like, oh man, before the 18th birthday, I have to teach them how to change a tire, how to do this, how to do that. My girls, I have to teach them how to bake sourdough, how to do laundry, because that is really overwhelming and exhausting, looking at teaching your children in that way as just a massive, never-ending checklist. But they do need to be taught. And I think one thing that I found myself being guilty of is, just doing everything myself because I enjoy the tasks that I do in my home. And I'm pretty good at them because I've been doing them for years. I'm pretty efficient because I've been doing them for years. So I can just get them done quickly and enjoy myself doing what needs to be done. And that's easier than taking the time to pull one of my children in and slow down and teach them what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, how to do it, and then let them do it, and maybe even let them mess up, let them make a mess. That takes a lot of time. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about, but it's so important. And the time investment, the time and effort investment there really does pay off, especially as those children start to grow older. I mean, as you saw earlier in this video, even the little ones, with just a little bit of direction and freedom, they do like to help, and they can be actual helpers. But as they get older, that help really starts to become not just valuable, but essential, especially when you have a large family. Everybody needs to pitch in. And I really don't like when people criticize large families by saying, oh, well, all the older kids must just raise the younger ones. I'm sure that happens sometimes. I'm sure that's happened in the course of history where maybe, people have a lot of kids and they just make the older kids raise the babies. But that's just not what I typically see. And we're around large families all the time. What I see in large family culture is that everybody is needed. There's work, meaningful work for everyone. So all of the skills that are so popular and that people are trying to learn in their evenings and weekends and little bits of free time they have, like maybe making sourdough or fermenting things or baking from scratch, sewing, knitting, crocheting, or even just how to be a better home manager, better laundry systems, cleaning systems, all those things that we're trying to figure out as adult women. Girls, especially in larger families, just pick those up naturally when the mother is engaged and intentional about pulling her daughters into the things that she is doing on a daily basis, even though at first it takes more time to do so. It's so worthwhile and so important. And this extends beyond the arena of skills into knowledge as well. Just looking for natural opportunities to share knowledge with your children. I'm more specifically focused on that with my daughter because my husband is doing that for our sons. He takes them with him and he's teaching them skills that he has learned from his dad and from his grandpa, and he's doing that all the time, whereas I need to be doing that inside with my daughter. Not to say that there's not some overlap. I actually have my child who likes to cook the most. It's one of my boys. My daughter really likes to bake, but as far as cooking, that is one of my boys who loves to cook. So there is overlap there. And sometimes my daughter does go outside and want to do whatever the boys are doing outside. But for the most part, boys tend to want to be with their dad and learn from their dad, and girls tend to want to do the same from their mother, as it should be. So in this season, when I do have teenagers as well as little ones, I'm just trying to be very mindful not to waste these years and these daily opportunities that come up to talk to my daughter, to teach her what I know, and, just keep that door of conversation and learning open between us. There's really no reason that a young girl of, 15, 16, 17 shouldn't know how to do all, all of the basic tasks needed to run a home, including simple baking and cooking, like baking a loaf of bread, maybe baking some cookies or something like that, throwing together a meal, simple things that we might not even think about, like washing and chopping and preparing produce, or thinking ahead as far as planning a meal and having meat thought out. Those things really do seem like second nature when you've been doing them for a very long time and, juggling that with the other tasks that come with running a household. You probably enjoy them and they're pretty easy, but we can't assume that our daughters will just receive all of that knowledge and skill by osmosis or something. As I said earlier, they can pick them up naturally, but naturally doesn't mean that there's no effort. It just means it's in a natural environment. We don't have to send them to summer camps or, a buy them an online course for these things. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And I'm actually a huge fan of online courses when I want to learn something new because I would much rather pay somebody 50 bucks or whatever, like somebody who has put in a ton of time, probably years worth of their time to master a skill. I'd much rather pay them 50 bucks to teach me in an online course over a couple of hours than to spend years trying to figure it out myself. So I'm not against those things, but when which I think a lot of us are, us, millennial and younger moms, and maybe even some moms in older generations, we're trying to reclaim these lost arts and skills of homemaking. We have a natural opportunity to pass that knowledge and the skills that we are acquiring on to our daughters just by including them in our everyday work so that they don't have to go buy a book for every single thing that they want to learn or take a course for everything they want to learn. They can learn it in more of an apprenticeship style. And if you think about it, that really is what the teenage season of life should be. Girls should be apprentices to their mother. Boys should be apprentices to their father, whether that is bringing them into a specific kind of trade or work. Maybe it's woodworking or farming that the family does for a living or something, and you bring those kids into that, or whether it's just bringing them in to the work of running a home. And that really is every wife's job is, she is the household manager. She's running the home. So bringing the older daughters in as apprentices, I think that's a really good way to look at it, because apprenticeship is the most effective way to learn a trade. When I went to nursing school back, oh my goodness, it's been a really long time, guys. I'm 36, so maybe almost not quite 20 years ago. We didn't get to the hands-on part of our training until a few years into nursing school. The first couple of years were spent just sitting in a classroom or in a lecture hall looking at PowerPoints. And I've got to be honest, at the end of that time, I just felt like I hadn't learned much of anything at all. I would memorize facts for tests, but I really could not see the big picture at all. It wasn't until I got into my clinicals, into my hands-on apprenticeship portion of nursing school, that I really felt like I was learning something. And then I graduated and kind of got out on my own, actually working as a nurse, and I really learned that I hadn't learned much of anything at all. So almost all of my education happened after I graduated nursing school, and when I was really on the job working with other nurses and being trained under other nurses, that's when I really started learning. And we have the opportunity to provide that real life learning experience for our daughters, because we really are on the job here, keeping and making our homes and taking care of babies, even being pregnant, having new babies, navigating postpartum and breastfeeding, and schooling, whether you homeschool or your kids are in school, just navigating all of that with still keeping a clean home, getting meals on the table. That is more than a full-time job. And having our daughters just accompany us and explaining what we're doing, why we're doing it, and giving them real responsibilities, that is the greatest apprenticeship to homemaking and the office of motherhood that they could ever have. So here, this is my daughter's very first sourdough artisan loaf that she had made on her own. So she's 12, and up until now, she's really liked to bake desserts. So I just have let her have fun with it. I'm not going to force her to learn to bake every single thing at 10 or 11 or 12. I wanted her love of baking and her confidence with just measuring and mixing and, using the oven and timing things and cleaning up. I wanted her to grow in those basics, those fundamentals, while she was learning to love baking. And then I figured, she would naturally kind of take an interest in wanting to bake more things, and she has. So she had actually wanted to learn to bake sourdough artisan bread. So I'm very excited to be venturing into that with her, and her loaf was beautiful. So this video I just filmed over the course of one day. So this is one day spent with us at home. I started the day really early, always try to do that if I'm able to sleep well, or if I'm not like pregnant or something. Like when I've got the energy, then I start the day early. And what that usually looks like for me is just making sure that meals are lined out for the day, making my coffee, maybe throwing a load of laundry in, putting any dishes away that didn't get put away the night before. And then I look over my kids' schoolwork from the day before or for the upcoming day, and just, take care of the little guys, because sometimes they need a snack first thing in the morning or whatever. Then when the sun comes up, we usually have farm work to do. So whether that's milking or just whatever we have going on, we usually get outside after that. And for me, the only work that I do around the farm is milking. So maybe I'll walk around with the kids as they're doing other things, but I just don't do other farm chores because those have been delegated to the kids, and it's good for them to have things to do. So my milking doesn't take that long, and then I'm able to come back in the house and make breakfast. We sit down to eat breakfast, and after that, the kids do some chores in the house. I might do some things in the house. So after breakfast, I might, start some batches of bread or, do a little prepping meal work for lunch and dinner. And then I try to get my workout in. I like to get my workout in sometime in between breakfast and lunch, usually closer to like being after breakfast. I just do really well with routine. And when I know I can count on eating breakfast, cleaning up, maybe doing a little task here or there and then getting my workout in, then I can be consistent with that. But if I just say, oh, I'm going to work out today, but I'm not sure when that's going to happen, I'll just see when I can fit it in, then it almost never happens. I have to have not a time, like a specific minute time, where it's on the schedule, but I have to have rhythms and routine. Like I'm going to work out after XYZ. So that's just my little tip on working out. But then anyway, after I work out, then it's usually time to think about lunch. And once I serve lunch, get that cleaned up, then I spend some time with the little guys, read them some stories, put them down for a nap, and then we actually go up to our little cottage schoolhouse for school. So this year we are doing school in the afternoon. I only have 3 school-age students, my 3 older kids. The 2 little guys take their nap in the afternoon, so it works perfectly that we come up here and we have our own space to totally focus on school, because I don't know about you guys, I find it very, very hard to stay focused on school when I'm at our main house, because I get pulled away for like 10 seconds because I just want to switch a load of laundry, and next thing you know, the kids have run off, I've lost my train of thought. It's very easy to do. So that's been working out well. So we spend a few hours in the afternoon doing our schoolwork, and then when I get back home, the little guys have usually woken up from their naps, so I just straighten up their room, which, by the way, I'm trying floor beds right now, trying the Montessori method with floor beds, and it's going really well. I just don't know if I'll keep doing that with mattresses. I might switch to like actual sleeping mats, because my 2 little guys share the little nursery that you just saw, which is right off of our master bedroom, and I like that, but it's a very, very small room. So having 2 cribs in there meant that there wasn't any room for them to play. There just wasn't much room in there. It was really cute. It was just pretty cramped. So we're giving this Montessori thing a try. I'm actually reading books on Montessori stuff right now. I've been a mom for 14 years, 5 kids, but it's never too late to learn about something new or maybe try something new, especially if it would just improve the flow of your days or improve your children's experience. And that's what Montessori is a lot about. It's just thinking about things from the child's perspective and how they experience their days, which is really important. If you don't know this, Dr. Maria Montessori, she was a Catholic, and that's something that Catholics are usually pretty cognizant of, is treating all people, even babies and children, with dignity and really trying to think of things from their perspective. So after I do a little tidying in like late afternoon and evening, then it's time to make supper and think about the next day. So maybe I'm feeding my sourdough starter so it's ready to go in the morning, just doing any little prep work that I need to do, and then I'm done. I am not one that has a lot of energy for getting things done late at night. After we eat supper, I have my little bedtime routine that I do with the little guys, and that is it. I like to kick up my feet and relax, spend time with my family, and be done. Early to bed, early to rise. All right, well, that is it for this week's video. Any recipes that you guys saw can be found at hopefulheightsblog.com. I'll see you all next week.